I feel like I'm becoming a negative Nancy with Apothecary Diaries. Episode 15 of Apothecary Diaries. Once again, another episode that has a very weak first half of the story itself. Like I said last week with 14, that whole segment with the fire, while I do understand it's probably going to be a bigger story once we start getting into it, the story itself is just kind of blah. Now, I got a kick out of episode 15 because it's a lot of goofy moments with Mao Mao and Jinshi. I mean, obviously, you know, Goshun going to Mao Mao directly and having this whole mystery to solve. Yes, seemingly set up by Lacan, who is going to be very important, it seems, but dumb stories. Like, it's just the pufferfish and the seaweed and the poison and the very obvious person that was involved with it. It's always that funny thing whenever you have like that individual that shows up and it's like, oh, they're obviously the one that did it. Oh, wait, no, it can't be that simple. No, it's that simple. Obviously, the person involved is going to come in and try to stop things from happening. But yeah, again, besides like these goofy little moments with Mao Mao working with Gushon and Jinshi showing up all jealous and wanting to get involved and being kind of childish, it was just kind of a very blah episode. So other than that, so I'm not going to focus on that. It was fine, whatever, it exists. I hope the mystery aspects of this story get better. I really did like a lot of the little offshoot little stories and mysteries that they had in the first segment when she was in the Warrior Palace. It just feels like everything in the outer court is just very shrug. But again, the very end of this episode is where the juicy bit is. This is where finally I'm like, okay, cool. I have an excuse to actually turn on the camera and talk about episode 15 because, yes, this Lacan guy, that was a bit of a rough little conversation at the end of the episode. I'm going to be perfectly honest. It's seemingly bringing up this lady that they've been kind of teasing throughout the series. Every now and then, Mama would go to this one wing of I'm assuming is a house, and seeing somebody in there. Obviously seems as if this person is connected to Mao Mao, but they've never actually shown her, or at least completely connected her to Mao Mao. This episode, it seems like that's the case. I'm assuming that that is the person that was laying in there, is this person that Lacan was talking about, which has green hair, and seemingly acts just like Mao Mao. And yes, it seems like Lacan is extremely interested in Mao Mao, probably because of that. And again, during the conversation, seems to be implying something extremely messed up. Okay, so essentially, now that Lacan knows that this servant is working for Jinshi, they're from this particular house, he assumes that this is somebody that's connected somehow to somebody he knew from that house. And so he, again, was giving Goshon this mystery and looking into her more, and eventually is confronting Jinshi over and over and over again. Jinshi's like, this guy will not leave me alone. He keeps showing up. He's really hard to deal with. He's doing all these complaints. It seems like Lacan is just looking for an excuse to get in there and talk to Jinshi. And it seems like he's trying to work out some sort of mystery, or at least present Jinshi with something in order to, I think, work alongside Mao Mao. Or at least suss out who Mao Mao is. And it seems like Jinshi is picking up on this and is trying to create a little bit of a divide there. And it's probably the reason why Jinshi, or at least Goshon, told Mao Mao at some point, maybe through Jinshi, for Mao Mao to stay away from the military side. I think way back when Mao Mao first showed up in the court, or at least the outer court, to work for Jinshi, I think at that point Lacan was showing interest in her. Because there's all the rumors of everybody going, oh my gosh, there's this beautiful Corson, and she's super smart, and all this kind of stuff. I think at that point, Lacan was going to Jinshi. Jinshi told Goshon, tell her to stay away from the military district, because there's this Lacan guy that's obsessed with her. And so yeah, that kind of led into that whole thing, that I think Jinshi's trying to keep that separation there. Well, now it seems like, I don't think he's going to be able to do that anymore. Jinshi sort of stepped into this a little bit by asking more, you know, who's this Corson? Oh crap, I shouldn't have asked that. But yes, that's where it seems like Lacan at least revealed to Jinshi, Mao Mao seems to know who this person is as well. That was the other interesting part. At some point, it said that there's this creepy 40-something-year-old that keeps showing up. He likes to play shogi and go, and then at some point, Mao Mao says, yeah, I'm not going to think about it. She's like, I don't want to think about it. Nope, I can't stop thinking about it. It's obvious that Mao Mao seems to recognize who this person is. My assumption is that Mao Mao has met Lacan in the past. So what it's sort of laid out here is that Lacan used to go to this particular house, and he really liked this particular lady. And this lady, it seemed to show a very brief shot of, had long green hair. And again, sort of acts like Mao Mao in the idea that she never treated the customers like guests. She looked, whenever she did things for them, she looked upon them as if like a person doing a charity to a lowly peasant. And so again, it plays into the personality of Mao Mao. He also additionally said that she's very smart. This girl used to actually beat him at Go. This is a strategian in the military. So this is somebody that is very smart and is very clever, likes to think through things. Again, kind of attaching to Mao Mao. And additionally, she never sold herself, basically. She only sold her playing. And that led to eventually a lot of people who like her attitude of treating her terribly, which again kind of connects to Jinshi and Mao Mao. I love that little brief kind of, let's acknowledge this really quickly. It seems like he was very interested. There was a lot of people that were very interested in her, and they wanted to buy her out. Now, this is a kind of an interesting thing they kind of got into, is the idea of sometimes these buyouts of courtesans cost a lot of money. It seems as if the houses themselves will sometimes put them up for bid. Rather than like, technically, hey, yeah, if you bring us enough money, we'll sell her to you. Oh, wait, it makes sense that they would go, yeah, that's a lot of money, but there's also this other guy, and they would contact the other person and say, hey, they're looking to buy. You want to bet? You want to do a bid? And they would bid war. And it seems as if it's implying that he didn't want to do a bid out. He did not want to apply. He didn't want to tell them he wanted to buy her out because he knows they get bid up a lot and he wouldn't afford it. So instead, Lacan, being a strategist, and this kind of plays into who he is, it seems like he is both twisted and a strategist, would obviously think of, okay, well, if I know that if it went to a bid war, I would not win, and there's a lot of very wealthy people that are interested in her, I will lower her value. And that's where it sounds like it's going to get really messed up. And this has me extremely intrigued for where this story is going to go, because I can see Mao Mao wanting to take this dude down if, again, this is her mother. Or maybe an older sister. I'm assuming a mother at this point. Is that what they're going to find out is that, yes, this guy probably poisoned her. Because it implies this girl is dead. Again, assuming this is the person laying in that room that Mao Mao keeps visiting. This person was poisoned. The only way that I could see lowering her value is either to force themselves upon them or to poison them to the point where they are broken goods. And he said that he was thinking of forcing himself on her. So he was thinking of it. He never did it. So obviously he chose this other option, which was probably to poison her. And probably went too far. He probably went to poison her to make her worthless, and she died. And in the wake of that, now he's seeing that there's somebody else that seems like she's just like this person. So he's assuming probably this is a daughter or something. Now I want her. Because I couldn't have her. I want her. She seems like everything about Mao Mao is the same as this person that I wanted so badly. Now I want Mao Mao. Again, it's really screwed up. If what I'm laying out here and what I'm getting a sense of is what it is, it's really screwed up, and it's something that unfortunately I can totally see happening. It's just very odd that this Lacan guy, I'm guessing because he's a strategian, because he's a high-ranking military officer, it seems like he is so untouchable that he'd be willing to talk to Jinshi about this, because he's literally admitting to Jinshi that he did something to a courtesan to lower her value. It could be, again, because he's such a high-ranking officer and that he's talking in an outer palace, or outer court in a palace to Jinshi. Who cares about the life of a courtesan? It could just be the idea that he can say, yeah, I went out there and I stabbed a peasant. Okay, who cares? It might just be an aspect that this is such a different world, and anything outside of it is so, they're like pawns that, yeah, it's not like Jinshi's going to do anything to him, finding out that he messed. Like, he could literally say that I stabbed a courtesan and they just laughed about it together. It kind of gives that sense of like how they're so up here in this, on this cloud, that anything below it, they can just spit on and laugh about it. There's so many things about this that's like a very twisted conversation. At the same time, it's unsettling that it seemed like he so casually said it. Again, and to Jinshi's credit, now he knows this. He's like, no, keep Mao Mao away from this dude, because he literally just talked about how he poisoned somebody. Now, I don't think Jinshi has connected it. It sort of implies that he's connecting that these two are very similar, but I don't know that Jinshi is connecting the fact that, no, this girl might have been Mao Mao's mother. It could just be that, yeah, there's a courtesan at that house that is very similar to Mao Mao, and I never met her. But it seems like when it got to that point where he's talking about, yeah, I needed to lower her value, Jinshi's like, well, what'd you do? He had to, like, the stupidest, play hard to get? Yeah, sure, dude. It quickly shifted into literally, no, I'll tell you more, but first, again, I want to use Mao Mao. I have this metal worker. They had all their secret arts. I want you to have this servant that seems to be very clever look into this, see if she can decipher it. Okay, well, I'll hear you out. Again, I think Lacan is purposely doing this in order to get closer to Mao Mao. And I really hope that Jinshi doesn't let him near her, because it's already kind of laying out that this is a guy that's very, very nasty, and he's obviously very, very interested in Mao Mao. And it's just sad that it seems like Jinshi, based on how he's responding to this whole situation, he can't really not humor this guy. Like, he keeps coming in the door, he keeps causing me problems, and eventually I gotta ease it and let him see her or something, which I think is a massive mistake. Opposite end, I'm very curious how this is going to play out, because I'm curious about how Mao Mao is going to respond to this. Again, it does seem like, based on her picking up on the description of this guy, his age, what he plays, the fact that he, all this stuff that seems to be implying that she has met him before, which would make sense, though. So if she was at the house, again, possibly her mother was there, and at some point this guy was very interested in her, again, possibly killed her. Mao Mao is now working at the house, and eventually the guy hears of this again, or at least he comes by again to play more, you know, games or go, whatever. And he comes in there, and then she sees him and knows that he's kind of weird. Again, he's 40-something. He likes to play these games. She probably knows exactly who this guy is. Question mark is, how much does Mao Mao know? And I think what probably happens, why she was so unsettled and why she kept thinking about this guy, is probably because when he was in there, maybe one of the other courtesans told her, stay away from that guy, because they have an inkling, possibly, that he killed that, again, her mother or sister, whatever, who this person is. So I'll be curious to see how that kind of all plays out. The biggest question mark that I have right now with the story is it's never technically implied, from Mao Mao's perspective, any attachment to a mother. That's why I was getting so many theories going on about, you know, Mao Mao being the daughter of not maybe Otto, but maybe possibly the former empress. And the idea that, again, we never got any sort of inkling as to her mother. It just sort of played out like Loman used to be in this rear palace. He's no longer there, and he's taking care of Mao Mao. It never implied anything about a family outside of the palace besides Loman. It never implied a mother. We've never really had Mao Mao think, at least I remember, Mao Mao ever think about her mother. This could be it. And again, I guess, yes, it does technically make sense that this person that was laying in this room that Mao Mao went to visit when she was out there could have been her. It's either that or it's going to be just somebody that she knows. Somebody that was a friend of hers. It could have been, again, a sister. It just could be another courtesan that she was really close to. Nothing said exactly who this person was. Now it seems to be implying this was Mao Mao's mother, possibly. Again, because of the hair color being so... It kind of tips its hand a little bit much, being a visual medium, and the idea that we see her and we see that she has that green hair. And again, that technically describes her quite similarly. I'm just curious as to, does Mao Mao even know her? Did she ever meet her? Or is it just something that she just never wanted to think about? Never think about it. And again, that would technically make sense if it still technically applies into my theories and the idea that Mao Mao is somehow connected to the rear palace. Again, being possibly a princess. And the idea that, yes, technically, it still could all play out here. That Loman was in that rear palace, and possibly Mao Mao's mother, this person that we're talking about now, was in the rear palace. She may have been possibly a lowly servant. And at some point, she caught the interest of the emperor or somebody, and again, got pregnant. And then Loman took her and the child out of the palace, the rear palace. The big question mark is going to still be is, how? And then once she left there, she became a lowly, just a courtesan. She just fled there and became a courtesan. There's a lot of possibilities here of exactly what direction it can take, and my confusion's more in the idea that they've never really spent too much time talking about Mao Mao's mother. And so I'm kind of excited for the story that's coming up here, getting more into Lacan and Mamao, to see her kind of, I guess, address that. And I want to think that it's possibly going to be something that just Mamao doesn't want to think about it. Yeah, technically looking at I think it was the OP, they sort of show somebody that's kind of losing themselves, like they're decaying, and that could have been possibly Mamao's mother. So Mamao could have seen her, if it was poison, slowly decaying into something that's nothing, and then she's just pretty much blocked it from her mind. Nobody that has lost somebody to a detrimental illness or whatever wants to think about those moments. It's not a fun moment. So, but it's kind of curious that we've never seen her think about her in positive light, at least. So, again, pretty screwed up little story, and I'm curious to see how it plays out. But yeah, other than that, like I said, the beginning half of it, like I said, the mystery itself was just kind of very shrug. Other than just seeing these goofy little Jinshi being super jealous moments and constantly trying to sidestep him, and Goshun working with her, and yeah, her getting geeking out about poisons and the cat ears, and so many cat ear moments. even when she actually took the poison and they're just like shoving the medicine in her mouth, trying to get her to spit. Why'd you do that? Slam on the can, grab her, slam the medicine in her throat, get her to puke. It was super good. I did like those moments, despite the fact that, like I said, the mystery itself was just very, very shrug, unfortunately. So, but yeah, that's episode 15. Again, most in that last conversation, that last little conversation was super juicy and extremely tragic, and I'm not really looking forward to seeing how it unfolds. I'm looking forward to it, but at the same time, I know it's going to be super tragic, and I'm not going to like it. So we'll see how it plays out. But until then, looking forward next week. Again, the PV kind of the preview makes it out to seem like it's going to be another first half is going to be a random mystery, and then possibly the later half of it finally getting some juicy bits. So I think this is going to probably be the status quo going forward, just kind of breadcrumbing this overall story at the very end of each episode. I just hope that these, which again is par for the course, this breadcrumbing of these stories, it's always, like I said last week, the mystery typically always has a breadcrumb within it that applies to the bigger picture. And those particular mysteries and how she was solving them were always interesting. I loved, like I said, Li Hua and getting her health restored and all that kind of stuff. All those little moments were really fantastic. So I hope that at least those little stories get a little bit better going forward. So we'll see. But that's my thoughts on episode 15 of Apothecary Diaries. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, if you did, make sure that like button down below, comment, let me know what's thought of the episode. Additionally, if you're new to the channel, make sure that subscribe button's got my content. I do news, reviews, first impressions, top list. If it's anime, it's pretty much here. Additionally, if you like this content and you want to support the channel more, I have a Patreon link, tips link, super thanks, membership button down below. Greatly appreciate it, but it does. And y'all take care.